on AM 1100. The Flag.
It is a beautiful day. 8:06. Sun is going to shine today. It's not going to warm up too much.
Nope. It's going to get colder.
It's going to get colder.
It's going to get colder.
I guess if we're just going to be honest about it.
It has been getting colder,
And
but the sun will shine.
It's not going to cool down. It's not going to get brisk. It's going to get freaking cold.
Yeah. Next
It's
week
winter.
January cold.
looks like we might be getting that good January North Dakota cold. It's 8:06, and we're rolling in hour number 3 of the Need to Know Morning Show. And it's time for the CEO Spotlight. We do this every Tuesday at 8:06, and very thankful for the good folks at Vaaler Insurance who sponsor this segment. When it comes to protecting your business, nobody beats Vaaler Insurance. And we've got Dr. Tom Strinden in studio today. And Tom is one of the 2 key folks over at Bagan Strinden Vision in Fargo. And he's been kind enough to take a little bit of time out of his morning and rearrange some surgery schedule for us today. So, Tom, we are very honored to have you here. Thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
The first thing I'll say about you, and I said this earlier in our program, is that Tom is a classy UND hockey fan. I'm a Gopher fan, and Tom and I sat next to each other at a Gopher Sioux hockey game a couple of years ago, and we had a wonderful time that day. I don't even honestly remember who won that game. I think it was a close game, and you might remember more than I do. We've lost most to you guys recently. Did we win that one?
It was a great game. It was a 7-7 tie that night, and the Gophers won the second night.
They won the second night, so we had a tie. Was it 7-7? I didn't remember it was that high scoring.
It was a high-scoring game, yeah.
So, Tom, I said many of my UND hockey fan friends like to dig you and needle you and rub it in, and we had a good time there, and we didn't trade blows or anything like that. It was a really good time. So hopefully we can do that again one of these days.
For sure. It was fun, and congratulations to your Gophers. They played an awesome game against Auburn on the weekend.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
There you go.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, right now we're hanging our hat on football, and basketball's been okay too. But yeah, we've got to get the hockey program going a little bit. We're not where we have to be right now. So that'll, I think, happen under the new coach. We'll see how that goes. Well, we did bring you to talk sports, although we could certainly do that most of the morning. But let's talk a little bit about what you do at Bagan Strinden Vision. You're not maybe the place you go for your normal eye exam, but tell us about your role and what you do and how you try to help folks.
Well, you know what, Bagan Strinden Vision, we actually do offer just eye exams too. We have Sarah Swanholm and Dr. Bagan and myself are the 3 providers. We have 15 employees, and we really run the whole gamut of just if you're there just for routine eye care.
Oh, okay.
Up to
my
very,
mistake
very
then. Thank you.
complex. We really have the full complement of treatment for most ailments of the eye.
Okay. You're known for some of the specialty care that you do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Correct. We are refractive surgeons, so we both, Dr. Bagan and I, have over 20 years experience in LASIK. We also have done cataract surgery for 25 plus years each, and we would really the first in the area to offer the premium or multifocal implants. We also offer glaucoma surgery and what are called minimally invasive glaucoma procedures. And between the 2 of us, we are offering most services that are needed related to eye care. And from a standpoint of the quality of care and really treating people like they're part of the family, that's really our goal.
Tell me a little bit about what your reaction has been along the way when you've heard about these new advancements, the surgical techniques, the LASIK surgery and refractive surgery. When I think about this, I'm just amazed that we can do the kind of things to eyes that we can do. When these new advancements come out, do you ever kind of like look at Dr. Bagan over there and say, okay, do you think this could really work? How crazy is it that we're able to do some of these things?
Well, we are in our practice early adapters of this technology, but we also take just a wait and see approach because there have been some things. And again, one recent thing is called the raindrop inlay. Everybody eventually reaches the age of not being able to read. If you're nearsighted, you can take your glasses off at that point. If you're farsighted, you need some help. And the raindrop was to try to help people that were dealing with the aging of the eye where they could no longer see, could no longer focus up close. And it became it was working. But after 3 years, even after passing the rigorous FDA process, it got pulled from the market. So and Dr. Bagan had done some of those. We've had other procedures that have been around that have not really, in the full sense of the word, provided what they're intending to provide. So they've also not reached any kind of a market anymore and really aren't being used. That one was conductive keratoplasty. So we've seen some things. I mean, LASIK has been tried and true. It works very well. It's now been 23 to 24 years in this country. The multifocal implants have been around for 20 years. We've had newer generations and variations on those. So we really try to stick with things that we know will work. There's some other things, even in the glaucoma field, that have been on the market, worked well, but have been pulled for other reasons. So, we basically try to utilize that technology, but knowing that sometimes the new technology, even with the FDA, needs some time to make sure it truly is safe.
Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you decide to get into optics for a living?
Well, as a very young child, and I'm not sure what age, I told my parents I wanted to be a physician. I didn't, let a lot of people know that, but when I was in college, I was doing very well in the pre-sciences, the pre-med curriculum, and I really did enjoy all those sciences, and I've really enjoyed my career in medicine. It's a career of service. I had an uncle that died recently at age 95, and he was an old family physician, general practitioner out in Williston, and he had some influence on me. The rest of my family are business people. They're accountants and own businesses. So I'm really the only one in my family that went the medicine route.
Okay. And at some point, you decided that you wanted to have a practice or have your own practice, share one with Dr. Bagan. Tell me about that decision to not just work for somebody, but kind of do your own thing.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. As I look at what's going on in medicine and what's going on for me, I started my first 3 years in Minneapolis, and I helped establish the eye department for Alina. And I had a very big practice going already after 3 years. I was dating my beautiful wife, Michelle. At the time, she was a school counselor back here, and I chose to come back here versus being in the busyness of the cities. I really love it around here. But when I was actually making the decision now almost 11 and a half years ago to leave Merit Care, at the time I was the lead ophthalmologist there. And it was really probably because of a little bit of burnout. I was looking at my family. They were young. I was missing out on some things. I wanted to coach some hockey, wanted to coach some football, wanted to coach soccer, and I was able to do that. I left the very busy clinic, was able to hook up with Dr. Bagan, and it was really to provide balance in my life. And what I've really found is that statistically right now, 50% of the physicians my age or a little younger are showing signs of burnout. Even in residencies right now, about 30% of residents are showing signs of burnout. And this comes from the American Medical Association, some data that they have. And one of the problems with these big systems is that they run you pretty hard. And you're right. Now that Dr. Bagan and I are co-CEOs of what we do, we can determine, and if I want to take 10 days off that I did recently, I was able to do that. There's a lot of balance in my life right now that I didn't necessarily have when I was working for a big system.
Tell me a little bit about the industry. What's changing? Technology we know is always changing, but are there any trends specific to technology or anything else that is really redefining the way that you do your work in the line of work that you do?
Well, the biggest advances have been made in some of the technology that relates to the surgeries. When I first started doing my cataract surgery, it was today's version of small incision cataract surgery. And I will tell you, I feel blessed that my whole career has been spent doing this small incision cataract surgery because the patients recover so quickly. Some people, obviously, the day of surgery, they might have to limit their activities some, but the next day they can almost be doing full activities. They can be driving their car, they can be golfing, they can be lifting anything up to but not over 50 pounds for a couple of days. So the equipment has allowed us to be much safer and really to take on some cataracts. And the olden days where people sometimes were waiting 6 months to get their new glasses have been replaced to a time when almost the next day or certainly by a week they're seeing well enough to function as well as they were, if not a lot better than before. So the biggest advances have been in that technology that we've been able to incorporate in getting people recovering faster.
Has there been any kind of a trend in your industry of big companies moving in? We talk about big box retailers moving in where it used to be the mom and pop electronics shop. Does any of that go on these days in the eye care industry? Is there a trend there at all?
The latest trend right now, and it probably started maybe 10 years ago, would be some private equity buyouts. What happens, and it's really happening in bigger cities right now, whether it comes to a market our size, I do not know. But like in Minneapolis, some of the bigger practices have now been purchased by private equity firms. And so that's one of the trends that's going on. It's also, I'm fortunate in ophthalmology that I don't need referrals from other physicians. There's a pretty dynamic and growing independent group in town, some family practice and internal medicine and gastroenterologists and others that are in independent practice. There's 7 independent ophthalmologists. It'd be 9 if you count the retina doctors in town. So we still have a very vibrant independent practice. So a lot like a dentist, I can survive without the big system. So I've been fortunate that that's the way things are because it is difficult. I think as time goes on you're going to see more consolidation, and it'll be tougher to be in private practice. I think a solo practice is much tougher than having two, because Dr. Bagan and I can always cover for one another.
Sure. The growth, your new business growth, does it come from more people being aware of things that you can do and maybe seeking help when they wouldn't normally do that? Does it come from people having experience somewhere else and maybe thinking, let's try something else? Does it come from new people moving into the area? Where does your growth come from in the practice that you have?
I think all of the things that you mentioned are a part of it. The one thing that I do see is that we have an aging baby boomer population. Statistics would say you need maybe one ophthalmologist for every 15,000 people as far as the population base. We see many people that have been unhappy with other practices. I'll see some people that were, being seen maybe at a big system that maybe felt that their needs weren't quite being met. And I can tell you, when I worked for the big system, one of the things that I would notice is that as I got busier and busier, I left at night thinking, well, maybe there's 10% of the questions I didn't get to answer. And I don't like that feeling. I like patients to know that I've wrapped things up, that every question they had was answered. And if they don't have all their questions answered, we welcome them to call us back. We have a very, very well positioned practice right now with some of our assistants have as much experience as we do. And we really do try to make sure that all the questions are answered. And we're not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
But in practice, in any kind of business, if you can please 98, 99% of patients, you've done your job.
Yeah. When we continue with Dr. Tom Strinden from Bagan Strinden Vision, we're going to ask him a little bit about customer service and how that plays a role in their practice and how much of a focus that is for them. This is the CEO Spotlight brought to you by Vaaler Insurance. We're going to head to commercial break. We'll have a weather forecast on the way here for you in just a few minutes. But as we head to this break, it's time for another Student Athlete of the Day here on the Need to Know Morning Show on AM 1100, The Flag.
All around the Red River Valley, there are student athletes that go above and beyond by making plays for their teams and setting the bar in the classroom. AM 1100 The Flag would like to take a few minutes each day to recognize these tremendous student athletes right here in our community. Today's Student Athlete of the Day is senior Chloe Bry from Fargo South High School and is brought to you by Dakota Tire Brakes and More. The Fargo North South Shanley Girls Co-op hockey team's off to a great start this season and is 8-1-1 so far, and South defenseman Chloe Bry is a big key to the team's success. She's a three-sport athlete that also runs cross-country and plays softball in the spring for the Bruins. Away from athletics, Chloe stays busy with extracurricular activities, such as music and orchestra where she plays the violin, and she also sings in the choir. Chloe's also in student council, Pay Philanthropy and Youth, and the Fargo Youth Initiative. To top it off, Chloe's an excellent student.
So last year I was inducted into National Honor Society, and then I'm in 2 AP classes right now, and then we have finals this week, so hopefully they go well.
For all her hard work, Fargo South's Chloe Bry is today's Bruins Student Athlete of the Day, presented by Dakota Tire Brakes and More. If you know someone that should be recognized as a Student Athlete of the Day at your high school, send us an email at studio@flagfamily.com. That's studio@flagfamily.com.
I'm Zach Johnson, otherwise known as the Minnesota Millennial Farmer. I'm excited to be a part of this year's Northern Corn and Soybean Expo as a guest speaker. Join me at the Fargo Dome on Tuesday, February 4th to hear the latest about the corn and soybean industry. This free event will feature speakers Chip Flory of AgriTalk, commentator and former host of U.S. Farm Report John Phipps, along with a national commodity update and an expansive trade show. Breakout sessions will focus on the latest topics affecting soy and corn farmers, including biofuels, weed and disease management, and managing your risk for 2020. They're going to let me host a breakout session too, so if you're not sick of hearing me, be sure to join me for my session on social media and how I've been able to relate to consumers about what we do on our farms. Learn more and register at northerncornsoyexpo.com. See you at the Fargo Dome.
When our family moved here, one of the first things we did was stop in at Vision Bank. They made us feel so welcome. Hi, friends. I'm Scott Hennon. I'd love for you to do just that. Walk into Vision Bank, find out the difference. If you've been thinking about changing banks, but the hassle of it all is too much, you're busy, you don't have time, hey, Vision Bank is here to help. The client service reps and personal bankers show you how easy it truly can be to make the switch. The crew at Vision Bank will do all of the work. They'll switch all of your automatic payments, get you set up with online banking and bill pay. Of course, you can't leave without getting set up with that awesome mobile banking app, too. Vision Bank prides itself on exceeding your expectations and making you feel right at home. Call them 364-2020, or better yet, stop in. Experience their style for yourself at all 3 Vision Bank locations: West Fargo, North Fargo, and South Fargo too. Bank with Vision at Vision Bank, and tell them Scott sent you. Member FDIC.
Attention North Dakota veterans. Did you know there is free transportation provided to veterans for medical appointments? This service is at no cost to you and available in several highly rural counties throughout the state. Call 1-800-920-9595 or contact your county veteran service officer for further information. North Dakota Veterans Affairs, proudly serving veterans from around the state with additional resources.
This message is sponsored by the Department of Veteran Affairs and aired in cooperation by the North Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Andy Murdoch with Piper's Auction Company, and from all of us at Piper's Auction Realty and Land Management, we wish all of you a safe and merry holiday season and a prosperous new year. Piper's 2020 equipment auctions will bring exciting opportunities for the new year, including premier farm retirement auctions in New England, Martin, Harvey, Sharon, Churches Ferry, Jamestown, Rowlett, Tuttle, Bowman, and Steele, and also in Starbuck, Minnesota. To book your land or equipment auctions, contact Piper's today. Full equipment inventories and all of our Piper's 2020 land and lease auction listings are available at pipers.com.
People you know.
You get a chance to tell me what's on your mind.
From right here.
And we appreciate it.
AM 1100, The Flag.
It's 8:22 on the Need to Know Morning Show, and here's your WZFG 3-day forecast. We'll see that sunshine in today. That'll feel pretty good, but temps are going to be falling to 4 throughout the day. Tonight's low 12 below and light wind. Tomorrow and Wednesday night, we've got a chance of snow with a high of 9 and the low at 8. But it's going to be windy tomorrow with a wind chill of 29 below. Thursday, we're looking at a 30% chance of snow and a high of 20. Right now, we're at 11. It's getting chilly out.
11 degrees. Boy, it's really dropping. We started the show at
like
19 or 20.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that's what we get this time of day when there's no clouds to keep the heat in. This is what happens. So, well, we'll take it. There's some sunshine at least. That sure feels good. It's 8:23. We're continuing our visit on the Vaaler Insurance CEO Spotlight with Dr. Tom Strinden of Bagan Strinden Vision. Their website is baganstrindenvision.com. Tom, one thing that we were visiting about during the commercial break, and one of the reasons I love visiting with you is you don't just look at things from an eye care physician perspective. You look at things from a medical community perspective. Are young people going into the medical profession, and is that keeping up with the demand and the costs and all those things?
Well, that's a very good question. And actually, the University of North Dakota has a very, very good medical school, and they've got an approach that's different in the education than when I went to medical school. We used to say that we were memorizing the phone book before we knew who our friends were. They've now implemented patient-based learning right away. So the University of North Dakota, actually about 2/3 of the physicians in the state were educated at the University of North Dakota Medical School. So it's provided a tremendous benefit in the resource of physicians to the state. They've expanded their number of physicians. The one thing that there will be is a shortage in specialists. And one of the bigger shortages will be in ophthalmology. There's a very big shortage in urology. And that's all based on the RAND studies that were done years ago to determine what were the needs going to be of these different specialties. So overall, physician-wise, we have to make sure we recruit and retain the best people we can in North Dakota because there will be some shortages. So the answer to that question is no, there aren't enough physicians. But what's happened in healthcare is we have physician extenders, the physician's assistants, the nurse practitioners. In ophthalmology, we use our optometric colleagues to fill in a lot of the roles where we might be doing more and more surgery, fewer of the outpatient clinic activities, depending on the demand for surgery. So we'll have enough providers, but it's going to look different in 10 years than it does probably right now as far as the distribution of who's doing what in that and what roles there will be.
The industry of healthcare has gotten so big that I wonder if sometimes we lose sight of the fact that it's really about someone who needs help going to someone who can provide that help and getting that taken care of. I just wonder about how much waste is in our system and how efficient the system or how inefficient the system has gotten to be. And you showed me a graph earlier at the growth of the cost of the care, the growth of the care that's needed, and the amount of practitioners there. How do you make sense when people say, how do we fix healthcare? Do you have any ideas on how, if we're going to really get serious about fixing healthcare, how we might give a start to that?
Well, hopefully it won't ever come down to rationing of care. But what happens in Canada, and we've actually put ads up in Canada over the last 3-4 years, and we'll get patients that'll come down from Canada because their wait for a cataract, if you have one cataract done today, you go back in line and the wait is over a year. So some people come back for their second eye. I had one lady that came back to have both of her eyes, or came to me for both her eyes because her husband had passed away. She was on the wait list. She wouldn't have been able to stay on the farm. She wasn't going to be qualified to drive. So those families are already accessing. So their cost of care is changing, or actually probably not true as an actual number, because some of the people come here for different things, scans that they're on wait lists for many, many years. So if people are on hip surgery lists, they have to wait depending on age. If you're active like you are, Steve, and you needed hip surgery, you'd get it pretty promptly. If you're at an age of 80 or above or 70 or above, you might be 5-year wait list. But what we need to do in this country is just be smarter with our health care. And one thing that we do have is a huge bureaucracy that's been created. And if you could ever trim some of that, you would not lose any of the quality of care at the patient point of care, but you could potentially have some cost savings that could be passed along long term. And those are difficult things to do. Just look at what's the so-called deep state of the bureaucracy of our government. To trim that, or the penny plan where you might just take 1 cent of every dollar as a reduction, you'll eventually balance the budget. We have a tough time trimming things, and healthcare is really no different. Because I think the common tendency would be, if I can get by doing less and get paid more, that's kind of the nature of things. But that's not the nature of North Dakota. North Dakota, we're hardworking people, and that's why I really like taking care of the patients I get to see and the people I work with in North Dakota, is because we, on a general sense, probably work harder than anybody in the country. And we see this when some of our students or graduates go elsewhere, they immediately stand out. So I think if we're going to fix something, our cost of care in North Dakota, actually on a Medicare level, is the lowest in the country. So we've already got an example of some things, but we need somebody like Kelly Armstrong and others that are willing to take on the bureaucracy and maybe kind of not whittle down what the physicians are getting. Because I can tell you in all honesty, when I started doing LASIK, when I started my practice, I've never seen an increase in what I'm paid for my services, yet I have to still pay my staff 3% more.
Yeah.
So we're just getting by working a little bit harder, working a little bit smarter, but eventually you lose that option and you're just going to see less revenue coming through one's practice. So it'd be nice to, I just saw something in the Wall Street Journal where the pharmacy industry was allowed to raise their prices 9%. And we're not even given that option. So we're like, if you want to look at like a three-legged stool with the physicians or their providers being one component of it, all this other technology is increasing in price, but the physicians are capped or seeing a lowering of their reimbursement. We're going to accept 15% less this year for cataracts. So either you just do more surgery if it's available to you, or you're going to see 15% less in revenue through your practice.
The changing times. We did have someone called in a moment ago, and this message comes from one of our office staff here who took the call, and Dr. Strinden. Myron wants you to know that, or wants everyone to know, Dr. Strinden is so wonderful, and he and his staff are very kind. He's been a patient for 20 years. So Myron's sending you a little endorsement today.
Thank you, Myron. The check's in the mail.
Dr. Tom Strinden, thank you so much for coming in. Great to visit with you, and appreciate you making time for us this morning.
Thank you so much.
The CEO Spotlight is brought to you by Vaaler Insurance. When it comes to protecting your business, nobody beats Vaaler. Their employee benefit specialists work closely with your employees, making sure they see the full value of the benefits that your organization provides. It doesn't cost a penny to ask some questions. To set up a visit, go online to Vaaler.com. That's VAALER.com. Well, that'll do it for our show today. Have a great day, folks. Scott Hennon coming up next with the What's on Your Mind show. Take care.
Here's your WZFG 3-day forecast from weatherology.com.